original custodians of the land on which we used to meet. I pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people and hope that the path toward reconciliation continues to be shared and embraced. Okay, so why teamwork and why groups? I was thinking about what should I include in this presentation, and it just came to my mind that especially during the lockdown period, these communications between staff and students, it has two ways. So lots of presentations were dedicated to how do we get the message across to the student, but then the next question is how students can communicate with us and more importantly together. So this is my experience, and that students are keen to learn from each other, and sometimes if you can get them to compete, that would bring brilliant results. So that is just one justification for teamwork, group work, and that. So this justifies the selection of the topic. Also, that is students, when they graduate, they are expected to have interpersonal skills, and we have to give them a chance of just exercising those skills and polishing them. And that is the best achievement is when you let them to work together in teams, groups. So this is as much about the staff to a student and a student to a student. So let's start. Here, these are some of the common challenges. I was thinking of what to include in this presentation, and then it could be something too generic, to have something shallow, or to have something too specific, which wouldn't be of interest to the general audience. I mean, we discussed in set to having the formula included in the assessment task, but that most likely is not applicable to people in humanitarian and arts law. So I thought to bring something which can be useful for everyone. So these are some of the common challenges, no matter what discipline we are. We either have to do the teamwork together, or students have to do the teamwork. And then with one of my unit, which is the showcase for this presentation, design subject, that is the first year unit. So that makes this very challenging if you want to get people to work together and then they don't have any experience. So this is much easier to get them to do a design in the second year, or in the case of the higher ed, if you get them to do that in the third year, fourth year, but in first year, that is a quite challenge. And having a 12-week presentation also, I mean, we just squeeze things 1 week and make it 12 weeks. So what you want to do? You want to give them theory, you want to get them to work together. So that is one challenge. To make it more difficult, this subject is not a disciplinary specifics one. So a student have to choose whether they want to be a chemical, mechanical engineer, electrical, or even some biomedical engineers. So I have to keep this unit multidisciplinary so everyone can enjoy no matter what they want to choose for their future career. And doing the teaching in the age of the IT is challenge itself, and having the post-COVID complications, that is making things much more complex. And that adds to the importance of getting them to do the project teamwork together. All right, so when it comes to the teamwork, maybe the first question is the platform. All right, so we have seen quite a number of platforms presented today. So that could be an advantage or disadvantage, depending how you look at it. I mean, what we have here, that is a Canvas system. By no means it is perfect, but I remember almost 1.5 years ago when the manager here was Paul. We did a case study here in paid for the entire Swimwear to do some canvas. That canvas was just a suggestion for Swimwear, and we made a showcase for one of the units, energy and motion, and that proved to be successful. So like I said, canvas by itself is not complete. It's not perfect. Some other universities, Monash, I know, they are doing Moodle, and Moodle is based on the open source. And well, the good thing about that is they can update it more often. They have more say into how to customize it based on their need. That is something we don't have the luxury of in Swimwear. So among other challenges, Moodle, I mean, I've worked with Moodle for 2 semesters, but yeah, that has its advantages, disadvantages. And then just speaking of which, other universities like Deakin, they are using D2L, that is desire to learn. And well, if I want to mention one bright aspect of that platform, it has lots of automation in it. And for issues like a student at risk, this has been an issue for a while in PAVE. So Moodle does that student at risk automatically without putting burden to students. And then everyone knows what the issues are with, I mean, we are all doing our best, but these are somehow limited by the limitations of the platform we are working. And yes, it was interesting in the presentation during the professional development. I mean, the presentation by Nick, he had a specific work bringing students into team, and that is a good thing. I mean, team offering lots of advantages compared to Collaborate Ultra. For example, I never had an issue with the bandwidth during these professional developments, but with Collaborate Ultra, even though my network is quite good, I have to reconnect several times in order to get the audio right. But with Team, we never experienced that. And I noticed some of the question, Anik was asking, how do you handle the recording in Team? And Nick was responding just to record them on a OneDrive. I mean, these are good, but in a sense, that could be kind of distracting for a teacher. I mean, how should they wonder about all these available? I mean, at the end of the day, we have 12 weeks to deal with the student, and if you have to just jump from here to there, and that would be a big burden for the teacher, the instructor. And in that sense, I think ID is quite confused. They don't have a clue. They don't have any roadmap. And having said that, I hear that IT is promoting bringing some other platform from Adobe, which only adds more headache to everyone. I'm sure of that. So during this presentation, during these classes, when I want my students to interact together, they recommend, look, what about we are using the Facebook Messenger? And that is not a good option. I mean, we want all teamwork activities to be recorded. Later on, we want to get back to their activities. And then this is contrary to what in other departments. I mean, here we are trying to design something, we have to make something very tangible. I mean, I'm talking about the 3D model. This is not about the discussions. I mean, discussions are important in the brainstorming, but very soon they have to just do the hand-on job and make something, prepare something, and that has to make documents, reports, graphs, digital files, and all that. And these are going to be quite challenging. So Messenger, Facebook Messenger definitely is not an option. So here we have to choose between whatever is there. So Collaborate Ultra is good from the staff perspective to interact with the student, but when it comes to the teamwork, they need something very similar to the Collaborate Ultra. They need something similar to the team to work amongst themselves. So what is the solution? So I'm going to take you to specifically the features of Teamworks, GroupWorks under Canvas. And unfortunately, not all these modules are made by Collaborate Ultra. I understand that Collaborate Ultra is made by Blackboard. Blackboard is one of the other platform, and that makes them quite ineffective. That explains why the bandwidth issues are there. So we want these young engineers, future engineers, to work together in real teams, real projects in 12 weeks with all these challenges I mentioned. So what about the platform integration? So this is going to be a very controversy discussion, but if I want to give you my conclusion, look, if something is not signed by the Microsoft, it's not worthy of investment, right? So Microsoft is sitting there, they're watching how other small platforms are working, and if they're successful, what do? They buy them and they bring them under one umbrella. So the idea of the integration between all these platforms to talk together, maybe the only company who has the financial might to do it, that's going to be Microsoft. So forget about Collaborate Ultra, forget about even Canvas. I'm sure in very soon we will have Microsoft team taking over as a teaching platform. So that is just my anticipation. And we have issues, integration of student one, SAR, email, Facebook Messenger, and then many other things. They are not integrated together. And as a result, a student would suffer, the teachers would suffer. So one of the main challenges I mentioned, that's the first year thing. So with the first year, what are you going to do about that? If you ask them to do a project, if you ask them to do a teamwork, what are your expectations? You don't want them to do a show and tell, right? So with my design subjects, really the expectations are a student in week 11, not even week 12. They should come and do a presentation, not a show and tell. It's not a kindergarten. They have to do it very professionally using the very professional keywords, which are related to the real industry, to the employment, something like project management, leadership, teamwork, problem solving, work breakdown structure, 3D modeling, design, mind map, bill of material, life cycle analysis, sustainability. All these things, they are not discussed as a qualitative discussion. They are quantitative, very specific to a design. So in week 12, they're expected to do much more than a show and tell. So how can you do it? So this is an email, the former manager for SET, they came from a TAFE background and they were not very much in favor of project-based learning. Project-based learning is a great idea, and I know that many Australian universities these days, they are looking for recruiting people who can bring project-based learning in whatever curriculum they have. So this has proved to be very successful. So this is one of the emails I sent to Assad and the conveners at the time. I explained to them, look, if you bring the project into this, that's going to be fun. And they were kind of conservative, not sure whether they want to do it. And that goes back to something like 3-4 years ago. Fortunately, we did the decision, we brought the project into the design subject. So moving from an absolute subject dealing with the AutoCAD, which is not being used much in engineering, we brought the concepts of 3D modeling and very attractive 3D modeling softwares and then many more into the subject. So this project-based learning that is based on one of the theories in the teaching and learning that is called the schema theory. A schema theory means students have a prior knowledge. If you can link what you are delivering to their prior knowledge, they show interest, they get engaged. So by increasing the engagement, you bring them on board and the learning happens. So how do we deal with the multidisciplinary, the complex issues? I mean, that's a common proverb. It says divide and conquer. So not in a bad sense. We have what is called engineering method. The engineering method is to get a big problem and break that into little chunks. So these chunks become smaller problem, easier problems, so people can handle them quite easily, quite conveniently. So by bringing them into some simple, smaller problems, you keep breaking them until they become small, they become challengeable, or you can tackle them easily. So because all these students from the VC level, they have some kind of knowledge with geometry, we decided to keep that into the 3D modeling. So 3D modeling is the backbone of the design. If you think of the design as a multi-layer creature, something like an onion, the inner layer is the 3D model. So when they go to the second year, third year, fourth year, they are able to do something more sophisticated, something like a performance analysis, and they can do the computer-aided design and then all these details of the design. But for the first year, the 3D modeling was decided to be the core, the kernel. And what do we do in these 12 weeks? I mean, not to mention that one of the other challenges is the mixed mode. Now we have students both coming on campus and offshore. We have to take care of both at the same time. So that is the structure of how engineers solve the problem. What they do is they do a need analysis, that's a customer negotiation. Then they go to the conceptual design. They have some ideas, very basically, this is something like a brainstorming, looking into the patents, doing the research, looking at the similar commercial products and just comparing the cons and pros of each. And then they have to prioritize this concept that is called the conceptual design. Then they move into design embodiment. So they find one solution which is feasible, and then they start to get into the detail. And as far as manufacturing is concerned, we have a well-equipped lab for the 3D printing. That is the kind of manufacturing they do. They make a prototype of the parts. And so customer approval, that is in week 11, where they have to present and they have to convince that whatever need they stated at the beginning, at the onset, that has been fulfilled during the presentation. They have to show me, for example, if they say my design is going to be 5 kilograms, at the end, they should be able to prove that their design, chosen material and all the decisions, they end up with something less than 5 kilograms. And that presentation gives them an opportunity to work together and to practice something which really they need to get a job. This is the real currency, interpersonal skill, the presentation and all that. So that design subject is one of the few subjects they get a chance to try these things. If they want to write this resume to get employed, I would say this unit is one of the things which plays a major role. The employer is not interested asking them, look, what did you do in integration? What did you do in just structural calculation? They're more interested in problem solving, leadership, and just some attributes. It's not all about the skill, knowledge. Some of them has to do with these concepts. So the key question here, which brings us back to the presentation topic, group work. How are we going to let students to work together? So even if that wasn't during the lockdown, if that wasn't during the off-campus learning, still students have to spend many hours outside the class hours to work together, and we have to provide them with the right means of working together. I'm glad that Nick, in today's presentation, he touched some of the features of students communicating together. And today I try to cover some of the same or different approaches from different perspectives. So when it comes to the multidisciplinary, like I mentioned, these students may end up with becoming a chemical engineer, mechanical, electronic, or whatever. So the borders between these disciplines are increasingly become invisible. In my day, universities used to have departments separated like mechanical, electronical, but now we see that these double degrees are everywhere. In every university, they offer double degrees. Law engineering, mechatronic law, mechatronic commerce. So how students are going to cope with these multidisciplinary things. So the expectation from the engineers become more and more, and the teamwork is the silver bullet. So given a very new, very challenging project, the way they can handle this is by something like a self-service. They bring the expertise they want in a team, and all they need is to be able to work together properly. And all these learnings has to be generic. Generic in a sense, they have to be transferable to the future project. Even though this project has to do with the beef automation, beef in box, that was one of the projects I can remember. So this has to do with the food processing, but the same team goes and do automation, which seems to be different, but the very same concepts applies, transferable from here to there, and that is the good advantage of the engineering problem-solving method. So they are like silver bullet. All right, so that is bringing us to the age of the IT. So I just would like to highlight some of the challenges with the age of the IT and post-COVID. So a student want to create something. That is the only way you can get their attention. I mean, engineering subjects are mathematical, they are tough, they are non-attractive. So how do you bring female applicants into the engineering? If the subject is not attractive, so they want to be able to create something. They want to consume, they want to remix their knowledge together, share the material with each other. And this is not a new subject. Anyone has an experience with the MOOCs? Anyone knows what MOOCs stand for? Anyone? MOOCs?
Yeah, massive online something.
Massive open online course. That's correct. Yes, thank you, Edmond, for that. And this has been considered as a threat for all universities and educational institutes, because what they are saying is, if the material are available online, why should students come to university to pay to get a degree? If they can get what they need free, why should they bother to go under the debt and HEX, all these things? So I'll give you an example. I remember 20 years ago, I had to repair my lawnmower. I went to a shop and purchased some spare parts. And then I asked a question from the shop owner, and he got very angry with me. Said, "Look, why should I answer this question? That is the way this is how I earn money. Why should I tell you? If I tell you, who is going to pay me?" And nowadays, the MOOCs, look how MOOCs has changed it. If something breaks, you don't go to the TAFE. You don't go to get a certificate for fixing or repairing something. You just watch a video, because all these materials are freely available to everyone. And that is more or less what is happening to all educational institutes. Some of them, they are aware of this, they have been prepared for it, and as a result of preparation, they can survive it. The people who have ignored it, this is a very big flood. It's not gonna leave you in peace. So proper communication with the students becomes harder and harder. You find a student in the middle of class playing with their tablets, with their mobile phones, and how can you get them, bringing them in the class? I remember we brought some of technology-aided things into the class, something like Socrative, quizzes, And many platforms. I work on them, brought them here. They were not very much welcomed by the manager at the time. So we shouldn't blame Swinburne Commerce for losing the number of students coming to here. I mean, there are many things we can do here, making things more attractive. Anyway, if you add the podcast with the gadget, what does it mean? It means anytime learning. Anytime learning, that means more work by the staff, well, more engagement by students. So let us move on. I mean, the reason I stopped on MOOC is we have a mini workshop at the end of this presentation, and I want people in teams, they just share their ideas about the MOOCs. What are the threats? What are the opportunities? What can we do about the MOOCs, right? So this is, keep that in mind. We get back to this at the end of the presentation as a part of the work time. And here I made a simple video regarding how a student can work in groups. So let's watch this. So let me stop this. These tools are third-party software. Some of them, they are not shareware applications, web-based application. We don't have license for them. And a good example of that is Conference. The Conference is a software called Big Blue Buttons, and that application, because Swinburne doesn't have a license for it, a student can do the conference, they can record their communication, but that would disappear after a week. So that is useless from our perspective. I show you some of the communication I had with the learning teaching unit, and they mentioned, look, this is beyond us, this is a managerial decision, and we might bring Teams as a replacement of that shareware here later on. But let's watch the rest of the video.
Shaheen, no
Yes.
sound, absolutely.
Yes.
We can't hear.
Can't hear you here?
Absolutely.
Where? Is that just Asad? You have the same problem? You can't hear?
No.
Okay, I would. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So let me speak.
You can start movie and you will
All right.
comment or you can talk.
Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate you stopping me. Sometimes that happens.
No. Come on, it's not a critic. It's just we.
No. during the class, if a student don't bring that to your attention, you make a fool of yourself. You think that they are listening and that they don't. I appreciate you stopping me. So here I made some, so the first thing was the homepage. Second one is announcement. A student can make announcement amongst themselves. So that is a very useful thing. And like if I take you back to that announcement thing, these are the announcements a student made together. Here, students are sending something like announcement only among themselves. The next one is they create a web page. That web page is a sample one. In this sample, they are able to include images, hyperlink, equations, mathematics, whatever. That's like a full web page, but that is only seeable by that team of themselves. Here you see the people, and here Jack Buxton, Fergus, Oliver, these are the team member. And in the right-hand side, you have, they don't see their email, but they can use the inbox to communicate together. So that's good. If they know the name, they can come. Here you see so many teachers. These are helping the students. So many people are helping them. Wonderful, wonderful. And the next thing is the discussion board. They can have a pin board here, bring something and brainstorming, live discussions together. And that's the most important thing. They can upload the file they need to be shared between them. And the most important thing is that you can, as a teacher, you can see the ownership of the file. So one of the issues I always have in projects, some students complain, look, I'm working very hard, other people don't work. So they don't deserve a mark because simply they're inside the group, you shouldn't give the mark to everyone. And that is how I prevent it. Look, if I look here, Jack has created these files. Some of them are made by Fergus, and I know who is doing what when. That is essential for me to take care of the teamwork. If that doesn't happen, well, I know who is not working, and I just don't split the mark equally amongst them. So the next thing is the conference. I was expecting Nick to cover on the conferences, but apparently that didn't happen. So the current tool we have for conference, this is, like I said, is a big blue button. Big blue button is a shareware. Swinburne doesn't have a license for it, and I can show you that this team has made some conferences recorded, but none of these conferences can be watched because they have been expired. They only have it there for 1 week or so. So I just quickly fast forward over this one because these videos are not watchable. The next thing is called collaboration. So understand Nick presented some of the features of the collaborations together. And I mean, same things have different meanings to different people. So the way Nick was suggesting to use the collaborate was to get people having something like a panel discussion board. And to me, that is not the main application for collaboration. As engineers, when we are talking about the collaboration, we expect the students to make a report, to create something. This is pretty much like they want to make a final presentation. So they want to work at the same time. This is called the co-authoring. Co-authoring means at the same time people are bringing contents. This is not about talking. This is about doing. All right? And that means you have to access Microsoft Word, you have to access Excel, you have to access PowerPoint, and you have to add content into it. Here, I'm just getting you into this creating a collaboration amongst the team member. So that is, I can add only 1 member, 2 member, 3 member, and let them to collaborate making a Word document. Let them to collaborate to make an Excel file. Let them to collaborate, make a PowerPoint. And we don't want one single person doing that job. We want everyone to put something in it. All right. Here, that's a showcase. The team has made a Word document together, and let me show you. This is being loaded by Office 365. Sometimes the desktop copy runs into trouble. And here you see there are heaps of equations, graphs, cross-references, and then references. All these things, that is what means to me as a report. It's not all about arguing, discussing, and making nothing. So that is a test document. I mean, that collaboration was defined for making a Word document. Can be done the same thing, making PowerPoint and Excel. Let's move on. Yes, here, that is the email I sent to the learning teaching unit. Jack is responsible there, and that's his response to me. He said, look, we don't have license for Big Blue Button, and we are thinking of having that replaced by the Microsoft team. And that's a good news. That somehow give me an indication, look, if a software is not owned by the Microsoft, it's a loser. Don't invest on it. In the long term, they are the big box owner. They would monopolize everything. So if you want to be safe, integration can only go under umbrella of the Microsoft. Any other participant trying to integrate things together, they're going to lose it, believe me. So the next thing, I had a tutorial from Big Blue Button. I think that is not, we don't have much time. I rather we spend the time for something else. But if you're interested, this is made a channel. The channel is called Media Life. I can send you the YouTube link. I mean, that's in case by the time that Microsoft Team become available inside the Canvas, a student still can use Big Blue Button for recording their conferences and teamworks together. So I'm going to skip that one. And here, let me bring you to a session for question. So after this question, we run the mini workshop. So we have some time for this question. Please let me know if I can answer your questions. Back to Edmund. All right. Anyone?
Does anyone have any questions so far? Oh, I think Ravi, go ahead.
Hi, Shaheen. In one of my units actually using the same methodology, but I don't relied on Canvas, to be honest, because students sometimes feel a bit boring using that kind of environment. In one of my units, which I call, which I'm teaching, it's called Requirements Analysis and Modeling. In that unit, we have kind of a project. So ultimately, students are delivering kind of an end product, which they need to go through a sort of a iterative approach as a team. So they are producing sort of an output probably more often, sometimes weekly basis, where we as a teachers need to give some feedback before they start the next iteration. So what I found in that area, I mean that kind of a project-based sort of a learning, if they use some other external tools like those days, sometimes actually I rely on some external tools like what do you call this, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox sort of things, because students feel it's more easy to handle because they are kids, they are relying on these devices, small devices, so they are more competent on typing and doing things in these small gadgets. So so what I found that if I use sort of a documents in a desktop kind of environment, their motivation levels goes down. Sometimes engagement level especially goes down to when it comes to week 6, 7. So if I give a sort of a more flexible arrangement, like using some third-party sort of like a software packages like this, so their engagement level goes up, especially kind of a unit like more project-based unit. So that's just
okay. Robbie, this is quite understandable, but imagine that you're running the same class with a cohort of 50 students, and then, well, look, in my unit, there are something like 12 to 15 assessment items, If I want to keep things outside the canvas, it becomes impossible for me to run a fair assessment, right? So this is not your job. This is not a student's job to seek for an application, a storage media. This is IT's fault. This is IT who is failing to make Citrix compatible with OneDrive. Citrix is not compatible with the S drive. This is their fault. They're not listening to us. I mean, you can bring your solution, but this is not your responsibility. That is theirs. We have to keep everything under the platforms, something justifiable. Later, I have to defend my assessment mark. How can I do it if that's on the mobile? Right? So understand you're doing something, you're bending backward, you're working for them. They should be worried about that. And in the manager level, they should make decision like this one. And if they don't, I mean, teaching would suffer.
Yeah, that's right.
Alex, go ahead.
Sorry, Alex, you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. Look, you see my face, but okay. Look, guys. Shahin, simple question. How can we use Sandpits?
How do you use
Sandpits?
Sandpit. Okay. Sandpit, but by default is not visible. You have to go and add this to the favorite. Once you add this to the favorite, you can do everything in it. For example, here, I wanted to run a workshop, and in the normal situation, there's no way I can add Alex Tabu as a student. Alex cannot be invited into the groups. The only way I can do it is I have to do it on my sandbox. In my sandbox, I send an invitation to Alex. Alex accepts, so he becomes a member of my pseudo canvas, if you like, and then I can adjust your role as a student. So we can work together. I mean, that's what's going to happen just immediately after this question session. If you have time, we would like to spend some time for that. So
appreciate. But today I got 2 emails from some couple guys that said, Alex, we invite you to our
you have already accepted. You have already.
Then I click it. I accept. I click it. It's suddenly in front of me. Generally nothing. Yeah.
I will send you the link to join my sandbox, and from there we do a collaboration together. All right. Don't worry.
Appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? No question. So let's go back to the mini workshop, if we will. So here, that is what we do in the workshop. I'm going to make a group set. The group set is called Swinburne Academy. And that is called the parallel panel discussion. And what we want to discuss is about the MOOCs. I told you the MOOCs is a threat to the higher education, to the education. So what do you see we can do about the MOOCs? So you would join a team. I did that already to save some time. Choosing a team leader, I would do that while we are online. And then inside the team, you go and create a document, a Word document, PowerPoint, whatever. And then you discuss among yourself. And then you summarize your discussions after we come back to this Microsoft team. And then we do a voting. So there are 4 teams, team A, B, C, D. So you are, I allocated you to one of these teams, and then you present your summary, and then at the end we have the voting. So the audience would vote who did the best summary to be successful. So let me take you to the that Canvas shell. And this Canvas shell, I'm just in the text box sending you the link to how to get into that sandbox. Most of you have accepted my invitation, and thanks for that. All you have to do is now is to click on this thing, which I'm sharing with you. Just bear with me. Okay, these hyperlinks is going to bring you to my sandbox, and from there, just watch my screen. That is, I'm browsing into the people, and in people, so most of you have responded to my invitation. Few people the invitations are still pending. Tony, Greg, Brian, Rohan, everyone else accepted the invitation. So this is the group set. It's called Swinburne Academy Panel Discussion. And in these teams, the pending people have categorized at the top, group E. So all other groups can do the drag and drop to exchange people between the teams. That's a very easy thing. Even from the list, I can drag and drop. So what you do is you just join my sandbox, go to your groups, and over there you initiate a collaboration. A collaboration could be a Word document, so you co-author it together and put your discussion regarding the MOOCs, and let's put a 8-minute time for that. Is that too long?
I think, Shaheen, we might go for something like 5
minutes.
Just because of the
minutes.
time, but I do think it's really valuable experience to see
5
what
minutes.
it's like as a student. So
5
I do
minutes.
encourage
Try
people
to
do that.
make and here I did a cheat for the group that Asad is in. I just take you to that group. So Asad in the collaboration, he has done a great job. He has made a shared document on the MOOCs. So I hope he's not the winner, but I cheated for him. So here I'm loading the Microsoft 365 as a collaborative writing, and here I put some discussion about the MOOCs. Asad did, not myself. Yeah. So yeah, 5 minutes. Let's do it now. Actually, you don't have to leave the Microsoft team. You can join the Canvas in a parallel tab. Go to the,
Doesn't work. I'm here, and your Sandpit team, resourceful, all good, but it's nothing in there.
so you find yourself. I show you where you are, Alex. Just bear with me. I show you where you are. So Alex could be found in. This is the self-aware. Let me find you, Alex.
Team B, I find it. I'm here.
So here are your teammates. Imagine what poor students are experiencing. You have to put yourself in their shoes.
So next to the team, Alex,
is,
you'll see like a little visit. Should say next to Team A Resilient, and should say visit.
Alex, you're in the resourceful. You're in the resourceful.
Yeah. Okay, go.
So you will see all the teams, but just one that you'll be able to access.
Yeah, I'm in the teams, but I'm trying to set up a collaboration document, but there's just an error message keeps coming up.
Maybe that's because you have already installed the desktop copy of the application. Sometimes it only runs with the Office 365. That was the same issue I had. Sorry for that. But
I do not have Office 365. I am on still Windows 10. Oh shit. Okay.
you feel for a student, don't you?
Raji, you there?
Look, I made all the Asad, and he left the session. Disappointed.
Okay, who is there as well? Dishanda, Paul, Alex, Raji, Paul.
I'm here, Alex, and I'm also.
What should I do?
Create a message, even though I do have Office 365. I can't create a Word document. I get the error message.
Paul, you know, I mean, yeah, I've got bloody Office old one. Yeah, I'm lazy. Okay.
At least you can experience what the student, poor students.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So like I'm in group D, right? I'm coming in through collaborations, and I'm clicking in, and it keeps on telling me that I'm not allowed to view the content.
All right. Let's conclude that. Look, what we provided to a student for collaboration is useless. that's the best conclusion we can make from this. And yeah, let's go back to the Microsoft team and we do the voting. So you just were, what can I say?
Hang on, let me have a look. Something.
Can just be a popularity contest.
Yeah. So
I do really like the voting. Yeah.
So
okay. I see something. So I see your screen there for Team D self-aware, right? I can see my name there, but when I go to the collaboration document, the only people that have access would be Assad and Shaheen.
Nick,
yeah.
You already accepted the invitation. I can't explain why this is happening, but in the case of the real, maybe that's because it's a Sandpit. Believe me, we have very limited experience to test this beforehand. I'm sorry to hear that you cannot.
Oh no, that's okay. It's just I guess we can sort of diagnose what the problem is. So, and I could see that Nadia and Edmund, who is also in Team D self-aware, was on the left-hand side and wasn't actually allocated. If I change that now, Edmund, do you want to try and get in? If I just go save, that should mean that you should be able to get in.
Yeah. Well, IT should do a better job, don't they?
No, it's just it just helps diagnosing what's going on. You know, sometimes it can do with defining user groups and making sure that they match up, or you know, and as you said, sometimes it can be with a funny, clinky system that Canvas can be sometimes.
Yeah, we are lucky to have Edmond with us. Otherwise, we were helpless here in the middle of desert.
Yeah.
All right.
So I love your faith.
Yeah, let's do the polls. Just out of the blue, give some vote to someone, and I'm running the polls now. Let me launch the first one. So who do you vote for? Now this is being launched.
Okay.
So I submitted mine. Resourceful so far has gone 1 vote.
Because it's me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else? I should see the votes now. 5 votes are here. We have 75% for resourceful. It keeps changing. So 9 votes by now. We stop at 15. When we have 15 votes, that's enough. Come on, more votes, please. All right, no big deal. 11 votes is good. So the first winner is resourceful. The second winner is self-aware. And we have 2 last winner, courageous and resilient. Resilient got no votes. Sorry for that. So the next thing is I want you to just vote for this presentation, please. Okay, so far we have 1 vote, 2 votes, 4 votes. Come on, I know you're tired. There's no reason you don't vote. Ten votes. That's it. So, yeah, good results. 70% we're happy with presentation and workshop. 36% happy with the presentation, and no one complained. No one got 0. And I give this back to Edmund. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your listening and participation in this class. Thanks very much. Back to you, Edmund.
Thank you, Shaheen.
Thanks, Shaheen.
Really good.
Fantastic job, Shaheen. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say
I'm going to do a little final thank you thing. We do have one more meeting to go to. We're getting used to traveling between meetings. I won't start until 3:30, so if you want to just get up, stretch your legs, get a drink or something, and I'll see you in that final meeting. Okay. So thank you very much, Shaheen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you in a second.